What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to another pregame prediction video. It's week 9 in the NFL, and man, we got a big matchup, Cowboys-Eagles. This is a big game. Let's talk about it.
Prescott, touchdown. Throw, look at middle, sacked again by Parsons again. CD Lamb, was he down? They say no for now, and he's into the end zone.
Thanks again for joining me for another pregame prediction video. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Cowboys content. Boy, oh boy, this is what football is for. These kinds of matchups. Both teams are pretty even in my opinion. I think they're well matched. They're very similar. This is going to be really fun, and man, it is criminal how this is not Sunday Night Football. It is criminal how it doesn't have a primetime spot, but it does have that 4:25 slot, has that 3:25 slot in the afternoon that they have on Fox. But man, this is going to be a fun game. Cowboys are 5-2, Eagles are 7-1. Not only does this have the whole NFL watching and all their fans, this has NFC implications, NFC playoff race implications, NFC East implications. Because you look at the NFC East right now, Commanders are out of it. Giants are out of it. It's coming down to these two teams. So, and the Eagles are rolling, man. I mean, both teams are on 2-game winning streaks, and the Eagles are 7-1, and they went to the Super Bowl last year, and the Cowboys haven't been in the Super Bowl. You know the story. You know how it goes. But let's go ahead and jump on in because I got a lot to say about this game, and that's just kudos to both teams, especially the Eagles. Look, I'm a Cowboys content creator, but I'm unbiased and realistic. I always tell you guys that. That's my brand. That's who I am. I'm going to tell you how it is. And the Eagles got a good squad, man. They got great players, and they have set themselves up for really a lot of success moving into the future. So, I mean, this is – and look, Hurts and Dak, man. I mean, that wasn't the case last year because the first time that they played, Dak was out. Then the second time they played on Christmas Eve, Hurts was out. So to get this – And we'll kind of talk about Hurts' injury, but be sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump on in like we always do. Let's jump into our fun facts. The Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles have been a historic rivalry for so long, and this is just including the regular season, but the Dallas Cowboys have a record of 70 wins, 54 losses against the Eagles all time. No ties. Knock on wood. Could this be the game where they end up in a tie? That would be very embarrassing for both teams. But let's take a look at these last 10 matchups, as you can see on the side right there. Kind of weighing towards the Cowboys there. That was a little bit more surprising. I guess I never accounted for the fact that it was leaning more to the Cowboys. Eagles have gotten 3 of the last 10 matchups. Cowboys have won the last 7. And the last time that they played, obviously, was that Christmas Eve game. The Dallas Cowboys won 40-34. That was a big game. Gardner Minshew was starting for the Eagles. Hurts was out. Dak Prescott had a great game. But most notably, the game before that was the last time the Cowboys played in Philadelphia. Eagles got that one. They won 26-17. Was actually a lot closer of a game that I thought it was going to be. Eagles had a fast start, but the Cowboys came back and battled back. Came up a little bit short. But very surprising because we were without Dak Prescott and we were with Cooper Rush. And so if we look at the Dallas Cowboys, and if you guys have been subscribed and tuned in for such a long time, you know I talk about road success. Winning on the road is very important. Not only just to win games, right? You got to win as many games as you can during the regular season. But winning on the road says a lot about what kind of team you are. Are you able to replicate the success that you've been having at home and bring it on the road, go into a hostile environment? It says a lot about the DNA and hopefully the championship DNA that you have built inside of your team before the season and going through the season. So winning on the road is very important. And for a long time, I mean, off the top of my head here, 2014, they were 8-0 on the road, the Dallas Cowboys. That was the last time that I remember seeing a team that was very special and that was really good on the road. Past couple of seasons, the Cowboys have been mid. They've been mediocre. They've been average on the road. You look at last season, I always refer to that one. We were 4-4 on the road, and if you include in the playoffs, we were 5-5. Right now, we're still in that rut. We are at 2-2, and this game is at Lincoln Financial Field. But let's jump into a few stats here, and I had to take a look into this and see exactly the math of it all, right? The Dallas Cowboys have been on the road 4 times. They've scored 40 points, 16 points, 10 points, 20 points, 21.5 points average on the road. Now let's look on the other side with the Philadelphia Eagles. On the Philadelphia Eagles, they're 3-0 at home. They're undefeated at home. Now if you look, they've scored 30-plus points every time that they've played at home, and they've averaged 33 points as an average. Now let's take a look at this, because the opponents, don't be misled here, because there is a slight margin here. Look, we can't base everything on stats, but stats helps us have a discussion around what may possibly happen. And we're at the point of the season where stats, things that you're normally doing at the beginning of the season, it's a new season. So the things that you're doing at the beginning are kind of just tendencies. But the more that you do them, especially at this point of the season in week 9, they're just not tendencies anymore. They're trends. It's really becoming part of the team that you are. So I say that because if you look at the schedule for the Eagles, and I'll have both of them up here already, but if you look at the schedule for the Eagles, their opponents, when they've played at home, they scored 28, 31, 17 for an average of 25.3 points. So people that have been coming into Lincoln Financial have scored over 3 touchdowns. They've scored more than 3 touchdowns, 25.3 points. You look at the Dallas Cowboys, they're in that wheelhouse, having averaged 21.5 points. You look at that math right there, less than 4 points is the margin. Where am I getting at with this? Winning in Lincoln Financial Field is not as crazy as you think it might be for the Dallas Cowboys. And I know this team pretty well, unbiased and realistically. And I know most of the time you're flipping a coin on whether or not this team is going to perform on the road. But I have a gut feeling, and I've learned through doing these content creating and doing these videos with you guys, I've learned to chase that gut and to follow that gut. And honestly, I've tried looking the other way. But the Cowboys have a legitimate chance here to shake the NFL up, the NFC up, and definitely the NFC East. Because if you look at the schedules, things can get really interesting, and there's so many implications with this game. It's perhaps the game of the year. It's arguably the game of the year, because if you look at the Cowboys schedule going up to Thanksgiving in that 3-game window, the Giants, and the Giants aren't doing too well. You got the Panthers, who've only won 1 game, and you have the Washington Commanders. But if you look on the other side of that, and if you take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles schedule, not saying anything's guaranteed, but statistically it does get a little bit harder, because you look at they're going to play us and they're going to go on their bye week. They got the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. They got Buffalo. They got San Francisco. And I'm going to go a little bit further from that 3-game window, but then they got Dallas again. They got Seattle. It gets tough for them. So you got to know that if you want to make a play at the NFC East, if you want to hope to hoist a playoff game at AT&T Stadium where you have won 11 straight this past Sunday, this game is hella important. And I just think that the Cowboys may actually have an opportunity here. Nothing scares me about the Eagles. I'll say that again. And on Player's Choice panel, I mentioned that early on. You could go back and find the live show that we did. There's nothing that scares me about the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they're a very highly talented team. I think they got a great quarterback. I think they got a great wide receiver trio over there. I mean, it's the best. It may be one of the best, if not the best in the NFL. And they got a great defense. And they got the best offensive line in football. But hear me when I say this. They are beatable, especially this season. And I think they're worse this season than they were last season. They were better last season. I'm not saying that they're bad or anything like that. It's just they're not as good as they were last season. So nothing scares me about the Eagles. This game is winnable. And I believe it can be won. You're telling me that margin is so thin that you're basically asking yourself, can the Cowboys score 4 touchdowns and can their defense limit less than 4 touchdowns? That's basically the idea right there. Can the offense score more than 20 points? Can they hold a team under 20 points? Absolutely. Especially against the Eagles. Absolutely. That's what I got to say. Let's jump on in. This Cowboys defense versus this Eagles offense. Let's take a look at our defense. Second in the NFL. You take a look at their offense. Third in the NFL. They can put up points, man. You look at that offense. You look at Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to talk about interceptions. That's dumb. But if you look at that offense, the wide receivers, you got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. Julio Jones was just added to that mix. You got Dallas Goedert. You got that talented offensive line. Just a really high running offense, and it's no surprise that they picked up right where they left off last season. Then you got our defense. And, second in the NFL, obviously led by Micah Parsons. But they got some amazing players there in Philly. I mean, you just got to look at A.J. Brown. Look at top 5 in receiving yards. He's having a hell of a season. 939 yards right behind Tyreek Hill. And he's had this incredible stretch of games, 100-plus yards. He's a fantastic wide receiver, and we will have our hands full Sunday night. Believe me, he will get his. He will score. He will be in the end zone. It's just what you face when you come across these great players that are playing in the NFL. He'll be in the end zone. No doubt about it. Their game plan revolves around him, so he has to get the ball. And games like this makes me miss Trayvon Diggs because Trayvon Diggs would always shut down that number 1 wide receiver. But A.J. Brown in the last 6 weeks, 831 yards. That's first in the NFL. 5 touchdowns, tied for first in the NFL. 37 first down receptions, first in the NFL. 21 catches, gaining 15-plus yards, tied for first. I would say that dominance is an underwhelming word to describe what A.J. Brown has done the first half of the season. He's been incredible. But speaking of incredible, you have to talk about our guys that will be guarding A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I'm talking about DaRon Bland. I'm talking about Stephon Gilmore. Let's take a look at DaRon Bland, man. DaRon Bland. 3 pick sixes, and check out this list, man. He has just as many touchdowns as all of these talented players on that list. I thought that was a unique stat. I just had to share it. I thought that was mind-blowing. But check it out. DaRon Bland in single coverage. Man, our hearts were broken when Trayvon Diggs was out, but DaRon Bland has stepped into the picture. 89.9 coverage grade, first in the NFL. 6 catches allowed, 3 interceptions, 6 forced incompletions, and when you throw his way, it's a 7.5 passer rating allowed. That's just one side, man. Stephon Gilmore has been an incredible. He's been a steal. Let's just call it what it is. He's been a steal in the offseason, and he shut down that side of his field too. But you do have to be careful for what the Philadelphia Eagles bring. They play to their strengths. Those crossing routes can really put the secondary for the Cowboys in a pickle. I mean, they could really put them in a tough spot because they got speed. The Eagles got speed, and I've seen that one of our weaknesses have been when that secondary has to use their speed. And so, like I said, they got a great quarterback, Jalen Hurts. I'm a big fan of Jalen Hurts. I like him, unbiased and realistically. He can run. He can extend the plays. I know everyone's talking about the knee injury. I'm not going to talk about that. That's dumb, man. Let's keep that away. He's going to have a great game. He's going to be hard to contain, whether it's running the ball, passing the ball, whatever it may be, and that brotherly shove that they do so often. But for me, here's my biggest worry. My biggest worry is Dallas Goedert. I think when you look at the players that I have just mentioned, I feel like there's a really good matchup in all of those. I feel like those match up pretty well, and it's going to be give and take both ways. But one thing I've seen that has been a weakness with the Cowboys is our tight end coverage. And our safeties just have to be better. Our safeties just have to have a good, solid game. And I'm talking about Jaron Curse, Malik Hooker, and Donovan Wilson. Because Dallas Goedert, he's not having an overly impressive season, but if you look at it, 35 receptions, 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 10.3 yards. This is a game where you could include him and he can have a big game. And, we've seen a tight end like George Kittle kill this defense. So is it possible? Absolutely. So I would definitely highlight that matchup, and that's something I'm looking at. If we can contain that, I like our chances. But here's the overall picture. Cowboys have to stay disciplined. Everyone knows this is a big matchup. Everyone knows this is a big game. And for as long as I've lived, I know the Cowboys haven't shown up for these moments. It's been very rare that they have. But here's the thing. You got to stay disciplined. And one thing I noticed with this team, they're young, they're talented, they're aggressive, they're physical. But stay disciplined. Be hungry. Be grateful and hungry about the opportunity that's going to be presenting itself Sunday afternoon. But you got to be smart. And we saw that with that game against the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday Night Football. No one's questioning their effort. No one's questioning their desire to win that game. But it really came down to execution. They were overplaying. They weren't executing. They were thinking too much. It ruined the game, and it blew up to start the game. That was a great trial run, in my opinion, that's really going to prep them mentally for this moment Sunday afternoon. And so it's about containing the edge. Simple things like that, especially against the Philadelphia Eagles. Containing the edge is the most important part of this game to me. Because when you contain the edge, you stop the outside run, which Arizona gassed you for. And that's something that the Eagles can easily exploit with their great running backs with DeAndre Swift. You stop the outside run. You eliminate RPOs that they run a lot with Hurts. He's always keeping that ball, and that always spreads the field. Those defensive ends, they got to be contained. They got to be patient. If you're just contained and patient, if you don't push in on that draw or that when Hurts keeps the ball, just let him go inside. Just let that running back, let the quarterback go inside, and let Hankins or Mozzie Smith or Osa Odigizua take care of that. You got to trust your team. And I think this is a really great opportunity for the Cowboys to test where they are again. And I think it's a really good opportunity for them to measure up. So here we go. These are my defensive predictions for Sunday afternoon, this big game, Cowboys and Eagles. I think we get to Jalen Hurts twice. I believe we get 2 sacks, which I think is a fair amount against this offensive line. They're really talented, but I think we get to them twice. And I do believe we get an interception against Jalen Hurts. Now, I don't know who it will be, but we will get an interception. And I told you guys about where the Eagles have been. They've scored 30-plus points at home, and they've been very dominant offensively. I think we hold Philadelphia under 30 points offensively at home on Sunday. And those are my defensive predictions. Be sure to comment down below yours, and let's talk about it. But let's go ahead and move on to our offensive predictions. And again, big matchup. And be sure to like and subscribe. But let's talk about the big wide receiver matchup. CeeDee Lamb versus A.J. Brown. Both of them had identical games last week. Now, CeeDee Lamb, talented wide receiver, but he hasn't been having the stretch of games that A.J. Brown has been having. A.J. Brown has been dominating for the amount of weeks that he has in the past to start this first half of the season. But they've been incredible. And really, I think both teams are going to do a really good job at doing their best at containing both those wide receivers. So I really believe this is a game offensively to look to those number 2 options. For the Eagles, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. For the Cowboys, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, Tony Pollard, Jake Ferguson, you name it. Both teams have number 2 answers and number 3 answers, and I think this game is really going to be about those wide receivers, those number 2s and number 3s, and the tight ends getting separation and getting their best in their matchups. But let's jump on in. Cowboys offense versus this Eagles defense. Now, I complimented the Eagles offense. I sat down here and named every player that I thought was worth mentioning, and they got a really good offensive squad. Their defense has regressed. Their defense is nowhere near as good as it was last season, and right now they got a little bit of an injury bug. People are dealing with some injuries, and that's okay. That's okay. That's part of football. That's part of the season. Doesn't diminish anything from what they're doing. They have found a way to win. I am not disrespecting Philadelphia or their fans or their team. They are 7-1. They have found a way to win. And like I say, almost every video, you are what your record is. So they're 7-1. They found a way to win. But there is truth in saying that their defense has regressed. They're not as good as they were last season. Most notably, their secondary has a lot of room to be exploited. And man, I feel really good about this game if the Cowboys can build off their success that they found last week against the Rams. If they go back to being conservative, if they go back to scripting plays and trying to stick to their game plan and not adjusting and not letting the game come to Dak, you can forget this game. But if they can build on what they saw against the Rams, watch out. Watch out. But if you take a look here, obviously the Cowboys offense is 19th. I don't believe that's a true reflection of where the potential of this offense could be. I think what you saw last week is exactly what you would expect. Now, of course, I can tell you what I would like the Cowboys to do Sunday. I would really love and appreciate if we can get back to running the football. That is not something we did against the Rams, but you're not going to hear me complaining too much because we scored 43 points, and 36 of those was the offense. So are we entering a new era, and is this Texas coast really becoming and coming into its full fruition with what we saw last week and Tony Pollard just being back there and not being, us not being a dominant run offense? Possibly. I mean, we've seen that time and time again. You see that with the Kansas City Chiefs. They don't really have that number one option out wide at the running back position. They throw the ball more often. So I would love to see them run the football. And I think it's funny because it was mentioned, and I'll put it up here, but Cowboys running back Tony Pollard, on feeling a big game is coming for him in the near future, he said it's coming. I just know it. Speak it into existence. So I'm going to talk about how the Cowboys need to attack offensively, vertically, and build off their success from last week. But would I mind a big game from TP20 and for him to get in the end zone multiple times? Absolutely. Because I think it's also really important that this team offensively not only find its identity, but also find multiple ways to win. We know Dak can throw the football. I know CD can have a big day, but I would really love to see the tight ends get involved. Jake Ferguson have another big game. I know he had a big game against New England. I'd really love to see this running game get started for us to control the game that way, and Tony Pollard to have a 100-yard game that wasn't against the Arizona Cardinals when we lost to them. So yes, I think it's important at this point of the season we're understanding what we're seeing from this offense, but especially if you're going to be a contender in the NFC, you got to win multiple ways, especially if you're going on the road. So would I love to see it? Absolutely. But this game is about attacking. This game is about the Dak attack. It's about Dak attacking and this offense building off of what they found in that game against the Rams. Carpe omnia. Seize everything. Keep that mentality. Go out there, get yours, and take control of this game. And that's exactly what they did against the Rams. And they did exactly what I told you that they were going to do on that first drive against the Rams. And they did almost exactly what I told you that they were going to do offensively. They need to continue doing that, especially on the road. They need to be the spearhead. They need to be the leader. They cannot allow this game to be dictated by what the Eagles are doing. They got to go out there and get theirs, take theirs, and take control of the game, because that's what great teams do. And especially they have to do it on the road. They have to do it on the road. But let's take a look. Number 4, Dak Prescott has a 93.2 PFF grade in his last 2 games. He's cooking up, man. I joked about it, but I mean, could it be Peyton Prescott? Dak Manning? I mean, could it be? I mean, he's been cooking up something special. He's been playing really well. And I think that's really, really important going into this game. Now, you could say it's the Chargers. You could say it's the Rams. I'm just going to call it 2 games. He's had 2 back-to-back good games, and that's exactly what you need going into a really good game like this one. Now, you look at both those games, right? Against the Chargers on Monday night, and you look at the Rams. Both those games heavily involved Dak's productivity and efficiency that led to a win. If Dak isn't playing the way he is in either of those games, I don't know if we win those games. You have to let that settle in. That's how important Dak is to all of this, especially into this offense that's more pass heavy at this moment. So, to have those back-to-back games where he was a huge part against winning against the Chargers, but also beating the Rams. Let's talk about his matchups against the Eagles, because that's a really fun one. Dak Prescott's career stats against the Eagles, which is 11 games total, 19 touchdowns, over 2,700 passing yards, 8 wins, baby. 8-3 Dak Prescott is against the Philadelphia Eagles in his entire career. Now, I'm not going to poke any bear like Jerry said or Dak said. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to present the facts that Dak Prescott has found some success against the Eagles. And I know it's a different season, and I know these Eagles are different, but I'm just saying he's been successful. He's been very efficient, and I'll leave it at that. But again, build off what you did successfully last week, which was attacking vertically. You got to attack vertically, man. These receivers, man. CeeDee Lamb is special with his versatility and his physicality. You throw it down the field, he can come back to the ball, he can jump up, he can grab it. He's so great at it. Throw it up to Brandon Cooks. Send him vertically. I mean, we saw it with the touchdown against the Rams. He has such great speed. He will beat you. He will beat you. If Dak is given enough time and Cooks is sent on a straight route, on a go route, he will beat anyone man to man. If Dak can complete that throw, that is money all day. It's as simple as that. Again, seize everything. This offense needs to seize it, man. The opportunity is there. The players are there. The talent is there. And I think Tyron Smith's going to play as well. So we should have 5 starting offensive linemen there. And our defense is rocking. The opportunity is there. If we play conservative, limp, scared, timid, this game will be over just like it was in San Francisco. And you know what? You're going to find out a lot about this team Sunday afternoon. If we just sit over, lay over, conservative, tired, weak, scared, we know exactly what to expect from this team, even if they go on to win 12 games. So that's why it's so important, man. What you see is what you're going to get. And this is going to answer a lot of questions. Very rare. And I said this in my pregame with the 49ers and the Cowboys. Very rarely do you get the opportunity to play against a contender this early in the season and figure out what you're made of. They figured out what they were made of against the 49ers. And they were given a couple of weeks now to build that confidence up again, find out what their identity is. Here you go. Here's the opportunity. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to be pretenders or are you going to be contenders? I want to know. We all want to know. So you just don't waste our time. This is it. Time's ticking. Let's go out there, get that win. But if we fire out the cannon, establish our dominance, smash out of the gates in Philadelphia, we will win this game. We will. I promise you. If they do exactly what they did against the Rams, have that same mentality, and they go out there in Philadelphia and Lincoln Financial Field, they will win this game. My prediction, my gut feeling is based all on that fact that they do that. And you'll know pretty quick. Real Cowboy fans that tune in and watch this game, you guys know. Sometimes you just know after that first drive. Sometimes you know just after that first offensive drive which team has showed up. But this is really, this game is winnable. I'm not scared of this game. I'm just wondering which team is going to show up. And I feel like if the right team shows up, Cowboys win this one. CeeDee Lamb in the last 2 games, 19 catches, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, 150.5 rating, win targeting, 11 catches, gaining 15-plus yards. Feed your man. Give the ball to 88. It's not rocket science. I say this every week. Just give him the ball. And we're looking for really big effective days from Cooks, Gallup, and Tolbert. So if the ball's thrown your way, catch it. You will be given a chance. So here's my offense predictions. I got Jake Ferguson getting in the end zone and scoring against the Eagles defense. I also got a Dak Prescott rushing touchdown. I think we're going to get down there in the red zone. He's going to keep it, and he's going to run right in. I also believe the Cowboys will drop 30-plus points on the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia in Lincoln Financial Field. Yeah, I think this offense continues what it built against the Rams last week. But here we go. Those are my defensive predictions. Those are my offensive predictions. Let me know down below what you think, what your predictions are. How do you feel about this game? Let me know in the comments. I want to know. And be sure to like and subscribe. Can the Cowboys win this game? Absolutely. It's the NFL. Don't be crazy. Anyone can win this game. Eagles can win this. Obviously, Cowboys can win this game. It's the NFL. Anyone can win. Do they have the talent? Absolutely. We've been saying that forever, man. Do they have the coaching staff? Yes. They have all the parts. They have all the players, the pieces to get a win on Sunday. But some people don't want to hear this. But the Dallas Cowboys have everything in that locker room to achieve what they want. And yes, that includes their quarterback. But it's how you perform in moments like this. This is a big game. This is a huge game. Big implications, significant implications. So how you show up to this game will really determine how the rest of your season plays out. You lose this game, you might as well kiss the NFC Championship goodbye, and you're probably going to play on the road again in the postseason. Yeah, that's how important this game is. And you may lose out on that number one seed as well. I mean, that goes without saying if you're not NFC East champs. But I will say this. This is my gut feeling, and this is how I look at this game. If the Eagles win, they would be 8-1. I've watched this team. I've watched the Eagles. I've watched how they struggled some games. Of course, they've won. I get it. But they just don't strike me as an 8-1 team. If they win this game and they go on to be 8-1, they are not an 8-1 team. They were an 8-1 team last year because they were really good. But this year, no, they don't get that. They don't get that. And I just can't see them having that good of a record and not being that great as they were last season. They seem more like a 7-2 team, realistically. And the Cowboys seem more like a 6-2 team if they win and when they win on Sunday. But before I give you my game prediction, here's what everyone else is saying. Cowboys are underdogs. As they should be. Unbiased and realistically, yeah. Eagles are favored in this game. Of course they should be. But come on in. The Cowboys go out there, seize everything, carpe omnia. If they do exactly that, which I believe they will do, the Dallas Cowboys will win this game. Sunday afternoon, Fox, 3:25 p.m. Central Standard Time. The Dallas Cowboys have a big game, and I do believe they defeat the Philadelphia Eagles. My final score prediction is I think it's going to be a really competitive game, but I got the Dallas Cowboys winning 33-26. Be sure to comment down below your score prediction as well as your offensive and your defensive predictions. But guys, that is it for this pregame prediction video for this Week 9 matchup. That is big, so big, so big. And it's only one of them. We got another one later down in the season where Philadelphia comes to Dallas. And that is Week 14, December 10th. And that is another big game. That is actually Sunday night. And that will also have more implications. So stay tuned for that. But be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to stay tuned for the Madden prediction video that is coming out tomorrow. And if you want to know how I feel about the rest of the Week 9 NFL picks, be sure to check out the video that came out yesterday. But guys, thank you so much for watching. And of course, I will see you after the game Sunday afternoon. Go Cowboys.
Prescott.